You watching the PolitBureau. Now, on Wednesday, leaders of the various structures of the ANC in KZN reacted to the High Court judgment. They say this court case is less about the provincial politics. Let's listen in.
This case is not about the provincial conference. These comrades are not even contesting the provincial conference. They know there's no space to contest. All regions, as you can see, all of them are here. If you convene a conference tomorrow, they'll re-elect Sihle and Super as a secretary. So how do you then think these comrades are contesting the provincial conference? These comrades are contesting national conference. If you can see the former chair of the province, Comrade Senzo Mchunu, he's up and down the entire country, addressing chairs in Limpopo and addressing chairs in the Free State. So this court case is not about the provincial conference, it's about the national conference.
All right, gentlemen, talk to me. Now let me pick up with you. Is Thando Sabela being honest in that clip when he says all regions of the ANC in KZN were participants at that media briefing that you and I attended? If not, who was absent? Which region was absent there, and why?
One region that was glaringly absent, I think it was the Lower South Coast, whose powers have been taken away, by the PEC. So I wouldn't say all regions, and I believe other regions. It was the Inkosi Pambata region. I don't remember seeing anyone from that region. We know there's been skirmishes there. I'll give you one example. When they held the 2015 conference, their regional treasurer was elected into the PC. They've never replaced the treasurer of that region. It has never held an RGC to try and reconstitute that region. So you can see that, and some individuals who were at the High Court, on Tuesday. Some of them come from that region. So another region, it was the Malahle Natural. That one is disbanded.
Yes.
That's where Dr. Zwelimkis is speaking today. Interestingly. So yeah, I wouldn't say he was honest, because he knows that some regions, are not seeing eye to eye with the current leadership.
Bamdlov, let me come to you. He also says, if you convene a conference tomorrow, Senzo Sihle Zikalala will be re-elected, and with the rest of the leadership, regardless who would win this provincial elective conference if it were to reconvene. Talk to me about whether or not Sabela is correct when he says this court case in KZN is less about provincial politics and more about what we are going to in December, which is the national conference.
I would say yes, he is correct, because I think everyone right now is thinking about the December conference. You remember that in the previous national conferences, particularly the Budogwane conference, KZN went there as a united bloc. But this time around, KZN is divided. Clearly, it's very divided. The Senzo Mchunu faction supports Cyril Ramaphosa, and then the Sihle Zikalala faction supports Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. Now, so clearly, their main concern right now is December. So because whoever wins the conference that's going to be reconvened, clearly that particular faction, because remember now the ANC, as I said, is not just the ANC, it's different ANCs. So the delegates that will be going to the conference in December would be representing a particular faction.
Nati Oliphant, let's bring you back in. Is Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, or will Nkosazana Dlamini's chances at becoming ANC president diminish if a provincial task team is installed here? And if so, who stands to benefit?
I wouldn't say they will diminish, but they will be seriously hampered.
Why?
Because now, the absence of any legitimate elected leadership, it tends to take away the powers or the influence of some of the branches and leaders, and you have people who are easily swayed down the ground, But here's the province, and here's, as it appears, the majority of support. But a tax team might throw might let throw the cat among the pigeons, and spanner in the works. So you look at that and you think, given the short time, as I said before, 1 week only, is a very long time in politics. I think she needs to go and work hard back in the ground, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, which is her stronghold. Yeah, and especially, in the region where she comes from, where we've been there the whole week, It all stems from all those local or grassroots directions, that spill over and manifest themselves into national dynamics.
What's your take on this, Bamdlovu?
Well, look, if the leadership that is in power right now, but obviously after this court case, it's clear that it's no longer considered legitimate. But let's say, for example, the current leadership continues, then Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma stands a very good chance of winning this particular province. But if things turn around and you have the Senzo Mchunu faction,
right,
then chances are Cyril Ramaphosa is going to win KZN, because, as I say, it's all factional now. We're not talking about the ANC.
Let me throw a cat among the pigeons. In Mpumalanga, it was yesterday. I wonder if they're still continuing today. They raised the issue of a third way or compromise candidates. Who would a compromise candidate be for a province like KwaZulu-Natal? Nat?
It's it's a maze. I don't think like a haze. You can't find a needle. So it's going to be difficult to say.
Are they likely to look at anybody else besides either Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma or Cyril Ramaphosa?
Well, if they pursue that way, now it's going to depend on the numbers, because confidence is all about the numbers. You may have certain numbers, but if you don't reach a certain threshold, for all the branches to agree, to have a consensus to reach, to support you, it's going to be a futile exercise, because I think in the past 2 years, Cyril Ramaphosa and Nkosazana Zuma, as they emerge as the front runners, I think they've worked hard, want to establish certain bases, of support. So for someone to come, 3 months down the line, so you're going to have a little bit of trouble. So I wouldn't know who exactly might fit the bill on that one.
I think Dr. Zweli Mkhize is likely to take serious offense if he's watching this program right now. Are you saying that he doesn't stand a chance at all? I mean, he was a keynote speaker in Umzimkhulu yesterday. We know he's in the running, although, of course, he's not said it. He's been nominated by certain regions.
Some people have said that Dr. Zweli Mkhize is part of the Cyril Ramaphosa faction. and the reason why he's contesting is because he is not being considered for the deputy president position. But many people suspect that he is part of the Cyril Ramaphosa faction. So, but I don't see the third candidate emerging. I think the contest is ultimately going to be between Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa.
Nat, perhaps as a last shot from you, talk to me about the state of the ANC. Yesterday at that funeral, key things that stood out for me: corruption and infighting. And I watched ANC leaders cringe when Makaka's close friend spoke very, very passionately about the issues that were going on in Umzimkhulu. And then I also saw a tweet from the mayor of Durban, eThekwini rather, Zandile Gumede, who tweeted saying, "It's so painful watching Comrade Makaqa's children and how young they are, having lost their father. In your view, sum it up for me. What is the state of the ANC right now? And does the ANC see that it is going down the tubes?
If the events of the funeral, did not hit home, I don't know what else would hit home, to show the ANC that not all is well within its ranks. You may not see infighting or open fights, at a national level, but grassroots level, is where things are. And those things, if they are not nipped in the bud, as four councillors were dead in Mzimkhulu, but it only took the death of Makaqa, to jolt some of them into action and to make pledges, as to how they are gonna stem the tide. So those things, that happen at grassroots level, especially in Mzimkhulu, as you say, they cringe, when some of the speakers, mention some of the things that are happening. It's unlikely they have not been aware of them. But sometimes, as politicians, it's a way of just wishing something away, dismissing it, putting it back off your mind and say, no, we've been to this before. It's gonna, as Sittler put it, ANC is a very conservative organization. It takes long to try and turn around and circumvent a certain, obstacle, and stem it. They always say self-corrective, but that is now challengeable, Are they going to be self-corrective in all of these things that have happened?
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for having made the time to come through here. Nathi Oliphant, Senior Sunday Times journalist, thank you very much for your time. Babzakele Ndlovu, thank you very much, political analyst, and of course a lecturer at UKZN. Thank you both for having made the time. The PolitBureau continues after the break.